Shalom, praise to Yahweh, Shem Yoshai, Shem Harakat, Padash. Double honors unto the elder apostles of great most on well, and shalom to the hopeful elect. This is news and prophecy, prophecy and news update. The date today is the 5th of September 2025, the hopeful year of destruction, deliverance, and judgment. All right, and I got a couple articles I'm gonna get into. Few precepts to go with them, and Lord will need to be edified, and where the testimony of Yahushua, the spirit of prophecy, and the word prophecy, a prophet, pro meaning before, and phasai means to say. All right, so if the testimony of Yahushua is what was said before, we have to measure the time diligently by going into the word and basically looking at the things that are written aforetime and then measure them up with the things that are happening within the news to gauge where we are within the times that we are, because there is no doubt that the times that we're in are evil, all right, and that speaks to the return of Yahweh Shai, all right. So knowing this, we gotta be uh vigilant in terms of staying upon our watch and being aware of the different things that are going on within this world, all right. So with that being said, the first article I got, this really shows you the temperature, even though it's in the UK, right? Which isn't in the belly of the beast, but it's definitely the mother of the well-favored harlot, all right? Um, this is it's very telling because it shows you. Remember, this beast government is a world, got a new world order. So when you see things like this happening across the globe, it really shows you that the infrastructure, the system that is needed for the beast to operate is being implemented worldwide, and it shows we're ever so closer to that day, right? Moving ever so close to that day. So this is from the Independent Recorder UK. The headline reads: Paper and mobile train tickets to be replaced with GPS tracking in new travel track. Right, it says it's a pay-as-you-go system, which will involve passengers tapping in and tapping out on the app, will help bring rail ticketing into the 21st century. All right, so this really shows you that, you know, this is the funny thing is, technology being used for mundane or trivial, tasks such as traveling feeds into predictive programming. All right, something that they set up through Hollywood, which goes back to Hollywood, uh, which is the ones that was casting the spells on the people, and through Hollywood they set up broadcasts on the minds of the people. Even like I and many other people over here in the UK, London, we grew up on a lot of Hollywood shows, American TV shows, you know, Fresh Prince, Martin, um, what's his other one with Bill Cosby? Name escapes me right now. The Cosby Show, My Wife and Kids, all the Spike Lee films. Crooklyn was a big film for me growing up as a kid. Do the Right Thing, all that shit, man. All right, Disney films, so on and so forth. And why? Because that was done through the broadcasting of Hollywood. In the same vein, I'm gonna speak about Independence Day. I remember I had that on tape cassette. Used to watch it every weekend when we was off from school. That was one of the movies, I damn near knew the lines, all right, because you just grew up with it, all right. But this was all done because it's molding the world and the world that you feel like you're going to move into. And this is why it says to move the ticketing system in the whole of the United Kingdom or England or so on, these different places into the 21st century because they want to implement a beast system that have been showing you for many a year. So let's read. It says a pay-as-you-go train ticketing system which will track passengers' journeys via GPS and charge them at the end of the day is to be trialed across England. Instead of buying tickets at the station or on their phone, passengers will scan a barcode on an app. All right, and we know that barcode is part of the B system as well because it tells you. Oh, one sec. We know that barcode is part of the B system because it speaks to it in the book of Revelation as far as a number written. All right, 666, sci-fi stigma, which when you look at a barcode, you have the numerical value of the barcode on the far sides in the center represents 6. All right, so it's an ode to that. So reading on it says uh passing through ticket gates, their journeys will be tracked using the location on their phone through GPS global positioning system. All right, so they're tracking you within the realms of the globe, you know, through that tracking system. The location tracking digital ticketing system hopes to replace the need for tickets, modernizing rail travel and saving passengers money and time while traveling. And this is something when they introduced the Oyster card down here in London, all right, they've incentivized it more and more over the years, man. I remember when I was growing up, there used to be a glitch on one of the machines. Really ain't a glitch. As long as you had a certain rail discount card, you could receive a discounted price ticket. So a lot of, us, we could get a travel card throughout the whole of London for £1 on a child. All right. And then when you was an adult, it'd be a bit cheaper, £2, 60, £3. But why are you gonna pay £3? Like if I got £5 for the day, £10 for the day, or I'm rich and I got a score or something, I am not paying £3. I'm paying £1. All right. But they've incentivized, they took away that machine. Because I remember that machine was like, that machine was a converted machine. You wait in line just so you can buy a pound ticket. But they've incentivized, they took that away. I'm thinking of my specific area, but they took these things away. All right. And over the years, they incentivized moving towards an Oyster card. Even with the introduction of contactless payment through your card, the Oyster in some way supersedes it. But, these are all things, incentives that are moving towards the B system. Shows you where we're going. All right. That's us that are in the know. We know where everything's heading. All right. So the location tracking digital ticketing system hopes to replace the need for tickets, modernizing rail travel and saving passengers money and time while traveling. Rail Minister Lord Peter Hendy said the railway ticketing system is far too complicated and long overdue an upgrade to bring it into the 21st century. So that's how they believe that they're going to do it. Through these trials, we are doing just that and making buying tickets more convenient, more accessible, and more flexible. By putting passenger experience at the heart of our decision making, we are modernizing fares and ticketing and making it simpler and easier for people to choose rail. The trial will begin on September 1st on East Midlands Railway between Leicester Derby, sorry, saying it like an American, Derby and Nottingham will expand into Yorkshire at the end of September. Oh, that's good for some brothers. At the end of September on Northern Line services between Harrogate, Leeds, Sheffield, Doncaster, and Barnsley. Up to 4,000 participants will be able to join the trials by signing up on train operators' websites. More than 500 people have already registered interest in the scheme, according to Ollie Cox, uh, the head of the commercial strategy and business planning at East Midlands Railway. In February, Lord Hendy said, "We've seen the success that contactless ticketing has on making journeys easier to navigate and attracting more people to our railways. It's only right that we now look to expand contactless ticketing to other major cities across the north, ensuring they can reap the economic benefits that simpler ticketing offers, and the passengers are having a better experience." Similar systems have already been trialled in countries including Switzerland, Denmark, and Scotland. In January, ScotRail began trialling its tap and pay system in the Strathclyde area and on routes between Strathclyde and Edinburgh. Similarly, 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 an app gives you a barcode to pass through the ticket gates and, and calculates the cheapest fare for your journey once you have reached your destination. So that might even be coming to London as well. They might, phase out the contactless in terms of your card and your Oyster and move towards using a barcode as well. And that's basically setting springboarding you into the B system. So all these things just show you, this incentivizing and feeling like, we're moving into, you're going to be part of a great new expansion and something that's going to make your city cool and interesting is being done by design. All right. So let's build on that. All right. Uh, this is the first one that comes to mind. Excuse me. This is Proverbs 12:10. A righteous man regardeth the life of his beast, but the tender mercies of the wicked are cruel. Right. So this is part of the tender mercies of the wicked. All right. The book of Job 9:24 tells you the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. If not, where and who is he? All right. Which is speaking to the man that rules this world now, Esau, Edom, otherwise known in a modern sense, the so-called white man. All right. And according to the prophecy in Malachi, the first chapter, he said, "I'll return and rebuild." All right. And the Most High said, he'll throw it down. So we're in the borders of wickedness in this evil time, and these things that are being done have a evil deed awaiting in the wings, man. He wants to do some real harm, okay? Because this whole moment, this where we're heading to, is basically a time where a choice has to be made and a line is going to be drawn. All right. So let me read this and then move on. Uh, I'll read the same scriptures I always read because you can't read them enough. Isaiah 31. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord Jehovah, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth. And I'm not saying that if you use contactless payment or nothing like that, you're wicked or evil. It's more to the point of the end goal, the goal in mind, what this man is doing and why he's doing this. Right? This is, an alley oop for the B system to strengthen themselves in the strength of Egypt and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. And why is that? Isaiah 36:6. Lo, this is a very dark parable, but it links up very well. Isaiah 36:6, Lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed, right? On Egypt. So you trust in the power, the staff, all right, of Egypt. All right. The broken reed represents the cannula that injects the sea hip, wherein if a man lean, against a broken reed, it will go into his hand and pierce it. Yeah, it's gonna pierce it. All right. And you're gonna be marked for death. So is Pharaoh king of Egypt to all that trust in him. And not only that shows that your king is Pharaoh. All right, this is basically, Exodus 21 goes into this. The all. This is a form of the all, the digital all, whereby you swear allegiance to Pharaoh, all right, Egypt, and that's your king as opposed to the Heavenly Father. All right, so let's move on to the next article I've got. I'll read this one. I'll read a bit of this one. This is the book. This is from CNN.com. The headline reads: "With no end in sight, National Guard troops deployed to DC grow weary." All right. So it says, with each phone call home, the troops describe a mission unlike any other. One soldier from Tennessee told his father that from 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. every day, only his only task is to walk around Chinatown. Another service member from Mississippi told a loved one that she'd be repeatedly cursed at while on patrol during a call to his wife. Sorry, on patrol. During a call to his wife, a guardsman from Louisiana said there was confusion about what the military was actually doing there. All right, confusion in the ranks. So let's read on. So it says, "We haven't gotten critically low on morale, but we are falling fast," said one soldier who, like others quoted in this story, spoke to CNN on the condition of, I can never say that, anonymity, uh, not anonymity. I'm gonna have to search the web, my guy. Give me 1 second. What's going on?
Anonymity.
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 Anonymity. All right. Anonymity. We have gotten critically low on morale, but we haven't gotten critically low on morale, but we're falling fast. So one soldier who, like others quoted in this story, spoke to CNN on the condition of anonymity because they are not authorized to speak to the media and feared reprisal. So it really shows you that these people that are being deployed over to these different places, specifically DC in this account, they don't want to be there. All right. So it really shows you that, remember the National Guard, they're being called up. I believe they're, like they might have normal jobs and whatever, but they're being called up to and deployed to do these things, and they're not too fond of what they're doing either. Of the more than 2,200 National Guard soldiers President Donald Trump deployed to Washington, D.C. last month, in addition to a wave of federal law enforcement, roughly 1,300 are from out of state. Guard members on the DC mission and their relatives who spoke to CNN said they left behind civilian jobs and children to serve a sacrifice they understood when they enlisted, right? So they're not, obviously they wouldn't be too fond of doing that. And while domestic missions typically have National Guard troops responding to crises like hurricanes or wildfires in DC, much of their work has involved more mundane tasks, patrolling popular tourist destinations and assisting with beautification projects. Which, I mean, if you're part of the National Guard, I don't think you'd be doing these kind of things. expect to be doing these kind of things, shall I say, including picking up trash, raking leaves, and laying mulch. What is laying mulch? I think that's like leaves and stuff like that. What's yeah, soil. Yeah, I thought that was it, the wood chippings stuff. Okay, mulch. That's mineralized straw. All right. So reading on it says, most of the beautification work has been assigned to soldiers from the DC National Guard to avoid endangering GOP governors who have sent their troops. For some, the mundane orders aren't an issue. One father of a guardsman joked that this is like a vacation for his son, but the mother of another soldier from Mississippi said her daughter is missing out on a lot of first events with her child to serve in Washington. I mean, you enlisted. What do you think? Yeah, and from what I've seen, from outside looking in, a lot of people over in the States go to the military as a form of, way to get establish a career. You go there, you enlist, you go through, all of the things needed to do to be enlisted. You learn all the basics, whatever, and then you're on a standby. But for the most part, I mean, you might do a little bit, but you serve to great, you serve to gain greatly in enlisting and being, able to utilize the military powers and whatnot. All right. But the one thing you forget in doing that is that you could actually go to war. All right. You could be put on the front line depending on what happens, man. All right. So, um, it's also unclear how long the deployment will last. A senior official familiar with the planning told CNN military orders for guardsmen on the mission are expected to be extended. All right, and that's gonna have be a real big hit on their morale. All right, through the end through the end of December, so they're gonna miss Thanksgiving. Though the official stressed there was largely to ensure that was largely to ensure the continue. I can't say this word. Continue. I can say it in my mind's eye, but I can't say it. Uh,
Continuity.
continuity. That's it. Continuity. Uh, continuity. That was largely to ensure the continuity of their benefits, like healthcare coverage, and not necessarily to indicate the mission will continue through the year's end. End. Sorry. Trump has also threatened to mobilize National Guard to other cities, including Chicago, Baltimore, and New Orleans. Now, this gives me another, another, you know, uh, it costs another, uh, it just shows another side of this shit. Because basically, you don't think about this stuff, but then when it's being said, it's like, wow, someone hearing, Donald Trump get up there and say these things, you're like, fuck, I'm gonna have to go to Chicago. And I might be getting into. I saw the recent weekend, I think it was Labor Day. They said for every day in Chicago, and it's like one of those Labor Day weekends or whatever. You just have. I guess it's like New Year's. I can only imagine it's the same thing over here in London. Obviously, not to the magnitude of Chicago. All right, Baltimore, New Orleans. I know it goes off in all those ends, those cities over there. But I can only draw a comparison to like Carnival, Carney, and New Year's Eve over here, where you have, everyone out because it's such a big event where you're bound to, run into your ops or someone from, the other side or whatever. So yeah, that's why you have mass shooting. So someone in the National Guard seeing that, like, fuck, I'm gonna have to deal with these demons, man. He's just letting off shots all throughout the course of the weekend as part of the administration's crackdown on crime. He said he could keep National Guard members in Washington as long as I want by declaring a national emergency. This guy is Nero, Don Nero, Don Nero. Yeah, man. I mean, this is a bad time to be part of the National Guard. All right, and with all this being said, it just speaks to the morale of the people of the National Guard being at its lowest. All right. Um. So yeah, I could read a bit more, but the point has more or less been made. So you can imagine if there's a lot of desensitization as well, in that they're seeing, military men walking up and down and raking leaves, and it's setting a different tone. All right, you imagine walking around your city and seeing this. All right, imagine even being signed up to the National Guard and you go in there to just bloody rake leaves, man. It's just crazy work. But to build upon that, I looked this up. Military low morale. All right, so I'm waiting for the AI. It's probably going to produce something slightly different. But let's see what it says. All right, so it says military low morale stems from factors like poor living conditions, inadequate pay, lack of effective leadership, and a feeling of being unsupported. This can manifest in decreased engagement, increased mistakes, and negative impacts on overall mission effectiveness. Addressing low morale often requires improvements to pay, living conditions, and leadership quality. Along when you got someone like Trump saying they can stay there as long as I want, as long as I declare a national emergency, that's going to take a big hit on the morale of all of them. And even the others that are looking from afar know they could be called up to go to more ravenous cities. It ain't going to do them no good. Okay, alongside ensuring soldiers feel valued and supported by the government. All right. Um, so yeah, let me read. I just saw this as well. I'll look at this very quickly. It says, this is from forcesnews.com. Levels of morale in the armed forces fall for the third year in a row. New MOD, Military of Defense over here in the UK. Survey finds. So for 3 years straight, morale has been on a downward spiral in the United Kingdom. All right, so these are the people that are going to go to war in the coming years, and they're more or less already defeated. Okay, so what the sank also wanted to look low morale. What was it, man? To back this point. Okay. Um. Okay. So that's the point. Before I grab some scripture, I just put in robots. All right. So this is from the AI on Google. All right. This is what it surmised. So it says, while the exact phrase military low morale robots is not used, the concept refers to the use of robotic systems to perform tasks and engage in combat that would otherwise be handled by soldiers, thereby avoiding negative psychological impacts of warfare. This is achieved by using robots for dangerous missions such as reconnaissance, demining, and engaging targets, which can protect human soldiers from stress, trauma, and even death. Examples include drones, autonomous vehicles, and various robotic platforms that perform high risk functions. All right. So it says, how robots mitigate low morale issues, removing soldiers from direct combat, reduce psychological trauma, performing dangerous tasks, increasing efficiency. And so all of the things that's going on, if morale in the United Kingdom has been dwindling for the past 3 years, if Trump is basically sucking the morale out of his men, it's basically going to open up, it's hemorrhaging the armed forces to the point where they're going to have to find another means of defense. So this is just, my observation from what I'm seeing, that it's going to give way to, first, it's a gradualism. All right. When you deal with Esau Edom, we know that he's doing things through the means of gradualism. He's introduced a small amount of National Guard, then he's increased the numbers, he's now armed them, and we can see the process going forward. All right. Because really, what this man is doing, the elites is attempting to govern the people on a mass scale. So they want to create a big brother state. How's that done? By way of cameras, drones, uh, unmanned, manned drones, unmanned drones, robotic systems. All these things basically give this man a power that is just beyond where it is right now. This is what I believe these things are doing. But that's why I'm just highlighting it. The morale is extremely low. All right, a Jet 2 holiday. Morale is extremely low, and that means, problem, reaction, solution. If the morale of the men is a problem, the best solution is to use soldiers that don't require a charging up of morale. All right, and then and that's the solution. All right. So let's read some. I'll read one scripture to the point. Um, read this The book of Daniel 7 and 8. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. Right. So this horn, that's the horns that were before the first horns are the UK or England, Britain, Spain, and France. All right, and they were plucked up, removed, and then what was put in place, the little horn, is America. All right, and the eyes is speaking about this man's technology. All right, this technology, it's not there in vain. All right, when you have sharpshooter robots that measure up a target in a fraction of a second, and get them out of the way, and you have dogs with mounted guns, and drones, these things, these are made to be used, all right? And when they're being displayed with the NYPD, all right, and they're going out on missions with military personnel, it's an insight into what is to come. 1033 program, all right, the militarization of the police. These things all show where everything is headed. All right, so let me close out my last article, which is very telling. Uh, close out this one. This is from the independent.co.uk. Headline reads Blood Moon Lunar Eclipse. When and how to see the moon turn red in the sky. Alright, so it says a blood moon will rise in the sky this weekend thanks to a lunar eclipse. Those looking up to the sky over the weekend could see the full moon turning a deep red. That will happen on Sunday, the 7th of September. It's the first time a lunar eclipse can be seen in the UK since 2022, but it will also be visible and better seen in many other parts of the world, including parts of Africa and the Middle East. Unlike many other celestial spectacles, the lunar eclipse can be seen relatively easily. It requires no special timing, equipment, skills, or setting. It just means looking up at the moon at the right time. A lunar eclipse happens when the Earth moves between the moon and the sun, obscuring the latter and turning it dark. The light that reaches the lunar surface is scattered by the Earth, so that it appears red to people watching from the ground. All right. Um, that will start 4:28 p.m. UK time. Um, so yeah, man, it's coming. Um, so these things are becoming all the more frequent. So I'll close out on this. This is the book of Luke 21, and I'll start from verse 10, and I'll get straight to the point. No, I'll start from verse 10. And then said he unto them, the Shai, speaking to his disciples, nation shall rise against nation, as far as the time of the end, and kingdom against kingdom, which we're seeing this warfare go on continually. It's non-stop. And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilences, and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. Right. So this is where it is, man. Earthquakes shall be in diverse places. Just had one in Afghanistan, three, a hat trick, and then after shakes, we got famines, scarcity of food right now, shrinkflation, inflation, all types of inflation happening, man. And pestilences, they're talking about the Novid coming back. So fearful sights. Just let your mind wander on that, man. Mull over that, and that tells you everything. And great signs like you had these school shooters, different things, different man. That's what's happening. And great signs shall they be from heaven. There's these things being consistently shown on the trot really show you that we're in that time. So with that, I pray you're edified to the next one. Shalom.